Welcome back in. It is time for Fire Field Vision, powered by NovaCare. As the Chicago Fire, after a couple of losses last week and dropping 5 of their last 6, they've got the expansion Minnesota United FC coming to town. Fred Hubner along with Paul Tenorio and Frank Klopas. And guys, I understand, and you're right, Paul, in the last segment you mentioned how it was nice seeing, I mean, for a lot of people, seeing exactly what Minnesota can bring, running Seattle all the way to the extra time before Seattle got the victory. But you always need and want to take advantage of those expansion teams, and that's what the Fire needs to do this Saturday.
No doubt. But, you know, I know Adrian Heath very well. I covered him when he was coaching Orlando City, both in USL and then in MLS, and I can tell you something. His teams always pull off one upset a year, one or two big games where they shouldn't have anything to do with that game. He gets them fired up. They usually play good soccer. It's been a little bit more of a struggle to do that with this Minnesota team. They just don't have the pieces yet. But he certainly can coax the best out of his team in these big moments where everyone's overlooking them. And you better believe that after that performance in Seattle where they push them all the way and they get that penalty kick in the 93rd minute, Adrian is saying out there at training right now, hey, we almost pulled it off in Seattle. Let's go to Chicago and do what no one expects us to do. And this is a roster that still has a lot of work to do before they're a contender in MLS. But there are some pieces I really like here as well. I mean, Kevin Molino, for me, has not been playing great the last few weeks, but he's one of the better players in Major League Soccer, in my opinion. The Tico, Francisco Calvo, the captain, playing left back, not his normal position, but he's probably their second best player on that Minnesota team. He's a good defender, good with the ball at his feet usually. I think Ibsen has been way better than I expected, so they have some pieces in place here. Abu Danladi, 2 great chances against Seattle, he doesn't finish, but it shows that he's got the ability to put himself in those positions, Frank.
No, you're right, Paul. I mean, he's got some pace. So there's a threat there, you know, in transition. We always talk about with this Fire team, at least the last 2 or 3 games, you know, managing the ball and being good with the ball. Because with Danladi on top, you saw in that Seattle match the opportunity. He broke through. He got 2 clear opportunities to get that second goal. That didn't happen. So there is a threat with his pace to get behind. Finley,
yes,
you know, he comes in now. I mean, he's always a threat. He makes some very good diagonal runs from the right side. He scored a great goal. You know, if Ramirez, he's still injured, I don't know if he comes back, because I think, you know, he's got qualities. He's not there, but he's a guy that's, as a striker, he needs service. But I think there are pieces there. Molino, he's a very good player, you know, but the thing is, can he be a guy now that, you know, that you can count on in every game to make a difference, you know, a big-time player? You know, does he have that kind of mentality and personality? That's yet to be there, because at moments he's been fantastic.
How important is it after the Fire dropped their first home game of the season for them to not only get out there and get a victory, but get on the board early, show early in the contest what they have?
I mean, I think anytime you're at home in a game you should win, you want to strike first and you want to set the tone early on. Most importantly, when you're playing a team like Minnesota, you don't want to give them the confidence that they can stay in the game. The longer this game stays 0-0, the better it is for Minnesota, or even if they can steal a goal. So you want to put that down right away, that energy, that confidence. And I'm telling you, man, this guy Ethan Finley, one thing I think stands out about certain players on Minnesota, and Calvo and Molino, 2 guys I really like, watching that Seattle game, a bit too casual for me. They give the ball away, and then they're jogging. They're not really closing down. You watch this guy Ethan Finley, I mean, he is sprinting 60 yards back to get in the right defensive shape. I think that kind of mentality is contagious. I think that when you bring a guy like that into your team, bring a Sam Cronin into your team, you start to improve that mentality. So if you can get that early goal and maybe tamper down the expectations for Minnesota that maybe they can pull it off, that'd be huge. But Ethan Finley, for me, is going to be a key in this game.
I think he's a good pickup. I think Cronin coming in, I think they're really hurting a little bit on the left side with Birch being out, because like you said, you have a center back like Calvo. You push him out wide. He doesn't want to be there. That was evident against the game against Seattle. But I think even in a game like that you felt, listen, they got to walk away with a point. Again, those mental lapses and moments, the one set-piece goal, and yes, Boxall slips, well, Marshall goes through. But even on the PK, it starts from a set-piece, and their inability to clear a ball and give second opportunities to Seattle. And then, you know, I mean, walking away from a point and then losing, it's got to be deflating for them. So I agree with Paul. If you get on top of them early here, you know, and then don't let them think that there's an opportunity that they have a chance at this game, the better it will be. And it's a good opportunity for Nikolic maybe to get back on track here.
Yeah, and I think that left side is going to be the place to really attack in this game, especially if Matt Polster's back, because Brent Kallman, a center back who's been playing a lot for Minnesota, according to newspaper reports up in Minnesota, was riding the exercise bike at training today. He's got multiple injuries. I don't know if it was just a rest thing early in the week, but if he can't go, you have to move Calvo back into center back, and then you're playing Ish Jome at left back. He's a natural midfielder winger. He's not a left back, so that's an area you can take advantage. But they're going to have to wait and see how this team lines up. I just think there are some issues there.
But also centrally, I think with the two in the middle, if the Fire, depending how they decide to play, I think they can be an area where they can dominate the central part of the field and then attack them out wide, like you're saying.
Well, and Frank, you were a striker. You were a guy that scored goals. What's on Nikolić's mind right now, not scoring in as many games as he has?
I think he's frustrated for sure. You know, it's not 1 or 2 games. You know, I mean, that's 7 games you haven't scored. And, I mean, he hasn't gotten service. He hasn't been dangerous, and I think he's trying. You can just see the guy defensively moving and trying different things, and sometimes you're trying a little bit too hard. You know, we always cliches. You talk about you got to have a short memory as a forward, or it's always about the next play. But you know what? You're not in his shoes. So I think for me, keep it simple. Keep making good runs like you can. Don't come deep to the ball. He was dangerous when he was looking to get behind constantly, and then he breaks away at one point, you know, because he keeps the back line guessing. I think for me, this is a good opportunity for him to get back on track and for the team to do so also.